What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mystic Raven. So, kind of interesting, a lot of craziness. The thing about it is, all the vindication in the world will not change my circumstances. You know, like I said, I never anticipated, you know, all of these events transpiring. I did. You never really think that something that you probably studied was going to actually manifest. Okay, you just do not anticipate that shit. You don't. There's just no. Actually, you know what? There's a lot of people on this morning. Um, I usually do this, but I got some other tunes that need this done as well. So I got that one done. I think search is done. I think momentum's done. Evil could use it. Anyways, so I think that's the weirdest thing for me is like when when the pandemic hit, right? I was like, what's the fucking chances, right? What's the fucking chances? That something I studied is now happening. So, like I said, I used to work in the field, and then unfortunate circumstances took me out, of that. And I didn't do that yesterday, so I've got so many tunes. It took me out at a pretty young age, and there's nothing I could do. There was nothing I could do, and I was very frustrated and angry. I was very angry because I was groomed, right, to do this. That was, I think, the hardest part is, and I understand, like, my intentions weren't good, and maybe it was fake, right? Maybe it was, I have to ponder these things, and I ask myself. I don't blame anybody for anything, and whatever else have you, and, luck of the draw, I guess, type scenario. And, there I am, just, lost in transition. And as soon as this comes up, I reverted back to my fundamentals, my functionality, analyzing all the data and projecting. Because that's what I was meant to do. Right? I was to serve a purpose. At least I thought I was. And then I had everybody in my personal life question me. Even ones who knew what I used to do professionally. Right? And I had multiple jobs. I used to work 2 jobs at one time. My second job was actually pizza delivery. I loved it. I actually quite enjoyed that job as well. Because when I wasn't in a suit, I was in, a little uniform and delivering pizzas. I actually got that job when I was in college, and I maintained it. It was a good part-time job for sure. And I even worked it full-time at one time, in between. That was really nice. I could go from part-time to full-time in between. When I left one company and ended up going to another. But unfortunate circumstances just, occurred, and, I just, you can't control everything. You just can't. But, people question me. Just question the fuck out of me. I'm like, I was 19, recruited, and you guys are in here you know, trying to diminish the effect, right? Which is kind of not very wise. And I was just like, you know, that's just. Oh, I forgot I have to. Great, no fucking tank. All these heroes and not one fucking tank. What a bunch of fucking. I'm always scared of fucking switch and then shit gets fucked. Ooh. There we go. One second. Anywho, so the biggest thing for me was people just questioned it. And I laid it all out. Everything. For each video, I said, and I have all these videos on my social media, and people don't want to hear it. They don't. They don't want to hear it. They don't give it. They don't care. In their world, they're right. Even when they're wrong, and what you say comes to fruition, right? Because you do your job. You keep to the fundamentals. You keep to it. You stay the course. You stick the course. And you say to yourself, it's not a popular, it's not going to be, received very well, right? A lot of people are going to oppose this. But it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you stick to your guns, right? Because if you did everything correct, then it'll come out that way, right? There's only so many conclusions where it goes and which direction it's headed. And I've been vindicated a couple of times, and there's more to come. And I said that, and everyone's like, well, of course we know. No, there's more to come, but I already called that. Right? I already said it ahead of time. The inversion, everything. And even with the housing market. And then a couple people have taken recognition to give me my, to say, yeah, you were right. And but it doesn't matter. It never does. And that's the bitch of it all for me, right? That is the bitch of it all for me. It doesn't even matter if I'm right or not. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter one fucking bit. So it doesn't. Nothing's gonna change it. Nothing. I could spell it out for people and be completely 100% accurate, but in my world, it doesn't change a fucking thing. For other people, it does, but for me, it doesn't. I'm stuck. And someone's like, oh, you're the master of your own destiny. No, that's not true. It's not. It's not true. It's not accurate. And like I said, I don't blame anyone, and I don't. It's nobody's fault. Not even mine. And I think maybe it was for the best, right? Because, I wanted to do things to change the way things... This little motherfucker... I hate these little fucks, man. Oh, I got credit anyways. Okay, well that's cool. But, yeah. Nothing like that changes for me. And, whatever. But, it also gave me a perspective. All the events that's transpired in my life has given me a perspective to be a little bit more considerate of other people's circumstances. I don't think that was a bad thing. If anything, I think that's something positive that came out of everything for me when things unfolded. Because, I was the type of person like, excuses. That's all I hear. Excuses, excuses, excuses. So I was one of those people, right? Until, something affects your life and then you're like, well, I was a dick. I could still be a dick. Because I don't like ignorance. I really cannot tolerate it. I can't. I cannot tolerate ignorance. And ignorance is bliss. And maybe that's why I was so bitter when I was younger, and I was on a warpath, honestly. I had straight up intentions to bring nothing but just, and I would have. I mean, I had the talent. There was no lack of talent there. There was no, that was something I was, I sucked at, like, calculus and stuff. I got trigged, but to be honest with you, I was on so many drugs and alcohol. I mean, I was probably an alcoholic by the time I was 14 years old. There was so much pressure in my world. Like, I used a lot of recreational, substances as coping mechanisms. Alright? And I did. And that later on bit me in the ass. It's just, I didn't realize until years later, after I became, clean, and I've been sober for 24 years now. So, roughly, about 22 years. And, about 24 years, yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah. So, like, I remember, like, when my junior year, I walked into my trig class, and I'm like, why do I have this class? And they're like, because you're supposed to be here. And I'm like, no, I mean, like, why do I have trig this year? And the teacher's like, because you took the prereqs for it? And I'm like, nah, it's not. What the fuck am I saying? Like, what? I didn't want trig. And they're like, well, you have it. Because they didn't have it. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I got like a C in that class. I was like, I believe. I was like, I took like 4 years of accounting. I took all business courses. I really was more groomed for the business elements for everything. And, and it paid off at an early age, and then, of course, when my world came tumbling upside down, I applied, and I became a private tester. Yeah, you want to do this? Sure, why not? And then I never wanted to be a content creator. It's just something I was like, ooh, gross. Ooh, gross. Oh, gross. Really? Who really takes these people serious? And then you realize a ton of dumb motherfuckers take these people serious. Like, they're not even questioning it. They're just going along with it. And that's our society, pretty much. Just go with the flow. Hey, there's no problem here. Just go with it. There's no ramifications for not knowing any better. And I want to thank my viewers, because I've tried to teach people throughout the time that I've been a content creator to question everything. And that's important. And that's what I do in my life. I question everything. And you should always be questioning. The first thing you should be doing is questioning yourself. If you can question yourself, right, then you can, be more objective in anything. I don't care. Pick your poison. You know what I'm saying? But, being objective isn't bad. If anything, it's practical. You should be a little bit more practical. And I don't know. I mean, like I said, I never anticipated anything in life. I don't want a pity party. Fuck all that. Literally, like I said, I came to this conclusion long ago that, some things just are meant to happen. How I wasn't a believer of it, maybe that philosophy. But I can tell you from my intentions, what I had intended to do, yeah, it was probably for the best. Because, like I said, I wanted to work in acquisitions. That was my goal. Because at the end, I felt like everything was wrong. And you have to understand my world to see that perspective. And I just realized, like, maybe I overlooked, the circumstances more than, the result. And that was a growing experience for me. It was. It was probably one of the most honest experiences of a lifetime. Right? I don't know. But, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for a lot of things, and I love this country, and I feel like, despite the problems we all have, we live in a society that has adversity, right? And that's the most important thing to keep in perspective, is no matter how hard it's going to get, no matter how bad it gets, if we set aside the differences, we can overcome so many things. And I think that is probably the most beautiful thing about America, right? Is just taking things like that, putting it off to the side, and working together to get done what needs to be done for the benefit of everybody. Not just the few, but the whole. And maybe it took me a while, to get there. I don't know. Like I said, all the vindication in the world isn't going to help. I could be, not that I have 100% accuracy, but I could have been 100% accurate in all of my forecasts. I was pretty good. I did damn good, actually. I look at long-term projections. I don't do trade projections. That's why I recommended Maverick yesterday. He looks at everything from an investor to a trader. I look at long-term economic effects, and I have to. That's just the way I'm built. I have to look at everything because eventually the macro will affect the micro. Right, so that's how I project, right, when I analyze equity markets. And, the biggest thing about it is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. None of it matters. Because, like I said, it's not going to change anything in my world. I am just stuck, And maybe, like I said, maybe it's for the best. I have to always say that. I have to tell myself that, because, had I had the opportunities that were presented to me initially, and I would have stayed the course, there was not going to be any good scenario that came from it for people. For me, yes, I would have been very successful. But it would have, at what cost? Right? And now I reflect on that question. At what cost would it would it have been? I don't know. I often say, God truly saved me from myself. Right? Because, whatever. And I don't know. It's going to be different. A lot of things. We'll get through a lot of things in this world, and I hope. My biggest prayer is I hope that people reflect on this in a realistic perspective. I know a lot of people will not. That's our society. They shift blame. And there's not one person to blame. That's the irony behind it. The most ironic thing is we can, associate this to that. And I'm not saying there aren't people who shouldn't be held accountable, but it's not, the determining factor of everything that's transpired. That's the kick in the teeth. So when I go over things, like after my stream yesterday, I just kind of, reverted back and was looking at everything. And I just kind of like, why can't I buy any of this? What the fuck, man? Did I buy any of it? No. What? This is bugged. But yeah. So, there we go. I was like, what the fuck, man? But, just be a little considerate of each other. That would be my advice. Be a little considerate of each other, and I don't know. Maybe if we do that, maybe if we, generations will learn from our, mistakes. That's the goal. But it don't change. It won't change for me. And, yeah. Whatever. It is what it is. With that said, I'll let you guys go. And, just remember, is this over? No, it's just beginning. You gotta understand what the feds are doing, what is yet to come, and everything from that perspective. How inflation has propped up assets, how, the reckless behavior of the investors into risk. And now, you have so-called experts saying, you need to diversify portfolios more, and I agree with that, of course. I'm not giving advice, but this is where I tell individuals, this is where you need to be careful who is your advisors. Seek out financial advisors. But you need to be careful too. Why? Because you need to, when you diversify, when you end up diversifying your portfolio, the first thing they're going to tell you is to reduce risk, risk management. And that, let me put it in this, in a layman terms. When we take a look at index market, right? For example, a lot of people like indexes. But what's the driving factor for an index? The algorithm. So when, assets are oversold by the determination of the algorithm, it does what? It buys more of those assets. That thus raises the equity back into that associated market. But if market has been propped up by inflation, right, and it's overvalued, does the algorithm have the associated, protocol to determine that it's overvalued by the information that's already obtained through the prior resistance and support? So, yeah. So, that's just an example. So, when you look towards a financial advisor, to reduce risk, you have to ask yourself, what does this individual know about all of these markets and association, right? I can't give you advice. I no longer hold a license to do so, so I'm not going to. I would tell you to look for a very, very good financial advisor, because it's not over. You know, there's an association that has to be taken into account, you know, when, you know, marginalizing, you know, loss, you know, and we'll get through it. It'll be fine, but at the end of the day, it's still relevant. So, as always, I'm Mystic Raven. This is Mystic's MMOs. Have a good one.